Okay, so we're starting a new project today. Um, gonna do some new flashing on this chimney. Just got everything set up here. It's a little windy, so hopefully it doesn't hurt the video too much. You can see that it's been leaking for a while, and the homeowner's been up here trying to fix it. The problem when you do this with the flashing is yeah, it's a temporary fix, but when I come up here and I'm starting to look for a problem to see if we can save any of this flashing, you can't even tell where the problems are because everything's just silicone down. So we're gonna start fresh and we're gonna just tear all this off. We're gonna pull back the shingles and we are gonna put new flashing on. And hopefully in the process, we will find where the major problems are. And then we have the typical stuff like cracking here. We know that's from not having a proper bond break around your flues. The flues lifted up on it. There's a little funky thing here, and we're gonna pull this back too and see if these caps are contributing to the problem. I mean, so this is the other side. It's all siliconed up, as you can see. You can't pull it back to see where the problems are. And then we'll see if there's issues with the cap. Yeah, that cap's run pretty close, so we'll see if there's ice and water shield up under it or how it's done. It's kind of a funky thing here to figure out how we're gonna do that. But getting a late start today. It's about 10 o'clock and I've just got set up. So I'm just gonna pull back the shingles, remove the flashing for today, and try to get some ice and water shield on it. I think that's gonna be my goal. Then I got a long ride home, so, and then tomorrow maybe I'll do the flashing. So we're starting to get into it. I just pulled a couple shingles off, and clearly now we can see where the issues are. Okay, look at what they've done. When they put this roof on, they've cut this lead. So the shingle came here and went up under that one, but look what they're doing. They've cut this piece of lead, they cut it flush with the roof, and they cut it in line with the other piece of shingle that was coming through here. And so I find that roofers do this so that the lead doesn't peek out. It doesn't peek out the front, right? But it's just what they've done is they've totally compromised the lead. People don't cut lead flashing like that. That's crazy. Just because you might have seen a little bit coming out the shingle, now you've made it completely worthless. Obviously it's a huge problem. It's probably like this the whole way down, I would imagine, but big problem. No one's gonna accuse a roofer of being the smartest person. So this is just what you got to watch out with roofers, because they just, anything to get the job done. They get up here with the knife and they just start gashing stuff, and what do they care if it leaks a little bit? They'll come back and just put some silicone or some caulking on it, and it will last a couple more weeks and they'll still get paid. Okay, I'm on the left side now, and you can see up here, look at that weak spot right at the top here. There's no coverage here at all. The water just could literally get behind all of this lead, and it failed right at the top. I don't know what the heck these guys were thinking, but, and then they've cut everyone. You see they've cut all these pieces flat. I mean, look how much coverage. Sorry about the wind. Look how much coverage would be here on that one. This one continued. Look how much more coverage you'd have. Less chance of water to get back up in there. I don't know why everybody feels like they have to chop it here. Like, I'd love to meet up with these roofers and just be like, what was going through your brain when you decided to just slash the lead flashing off? Like, I know they had a shingle up here and it just barely covered, so they didn't want the lead to show, right? They could have literally put it underneath the shingle. Put it underneath. Sometimes you could have two pieces under the same shingle. It's fine. And then you won't have to run into cutting this. These roofers just literally, they have no brain at all. Like, they feel like they get so fixated on, I've got to put one piece under every single piece of shingle that goes up, but they don't. They could do it till that works, and then you put 2, and then you go back to 1 until it doesn't work, and then you go back. But you can see, look at all these nails. See these pinholes here through here. I don't know if you can see them, but there's literally, you know, nail holes all the way through. Obviously not a good idea to be nailing through your lead like that. Just wanted to show you something. This is how they put the tar paper on. Look at this, right under there. Doesn't overlap, right? And then what they do, typical roofers, they sit here. You might wonder what all these gash marks are. This is where they cut all their shingles. Knife marks all over it. You wouldn't believe how many roofs I see this on the shingles, on the underlayment. Like, what's the point? They've just put gashes all over this tar paper, right? Like, you know, you would think maybe the tar paper would help, you know, if the shingle started to fail or a shingle blew off or something, the tar paper would direct the water down out of your house, or so it doesn't enter your house. But now it's just got gash marks all in it. It's not even watertight. They cut it away from the chimney. I just don't get it. It reminds me of that movie, Tropic Thunder. You know, where Robert Downey Jr. tells Ben Stiller, he says, "You never go full roofer." These guys went full roofer. Another failure right here. You see how they've just compassed with this front piece and they've just cut it right here. Obviously you're not getting much coverage with this piece that then comes down over it. So, you know, it's really close to the crack that they leave here, the seam. And so you can't trust that because there's no good coverage on the lead. So then you have to put all this caulking and silicone in just to be watertight. So definitely not the way to do that front piece. So I'm up here on the back and I'm just pulling this. There's a shingle that meets up and they put this bead of silicone at the back because they don't trust it. And the problem is when you silicone and tar like that up against lead, what happens is, look at that lead there has worked right through because it had silicone right up to it holding it. And with all the expanding and contracting it that's happened right there, that it's been pulled on it and pulled on. And these shingles expand and contract at a totally different rate than the lead. So when you silicone the shingle to the lead and they're expanding, contracting at different rates, that's what happens. Premature failure. So even after they put all that tar and silicone and everything down, still, I mean, the lead came all the way down to here. And look at this, the telltale sign right there that water was getting in. Those rusted nails. Yeah, anytime you pull shingles or lead or anything like that and see rusted nails, you know there was an issue. This is how you know you suck at your job. When literally every piece of vertical flashing, you have to silicone it to try to get it more watertight. That's how you know you really suck at what you do for a living. So now I'm just working on putting this metal on all the way around. You can see the gap here between the framing and the chimney. It's a little bit too big, or I should say between the sheathing and the chimney, it's a little too big. So now what I'm gonna do is put metal all around the chimney to help bridge that gap, okay, like that. And then it will help the ice and water shield, when I put it on, it will help it stick on the side and it won't ever fall down. That's the metal done. It doesn't have to be anything too pretty. Just bridge the gap, put a couple nails in it, get it as close to the brickwork as you can. And now I'm gonna work on getting the ice and water shield on. Just one little note, I've gone around with silicone under here and I've filled up all the pinholes. That would have been underneath the old flashing. You want to do that before you proceed and put stuff over it, those pinholes have to be filled. These ones weren't big enough for mortar, so I just used the clear silicone, and that'll be good enough. That didn't take too long, so I'm all buttoned up, just getting ready to clean up the scaffolding and get out of here for the day. I gotta get out early, got some Little League baseball stuff to do, and so this is what it's looking like. Shingles are all pulled back, metal's on, ice and water shield's on, and everything is siliconed up at the tops and on the seams. I just leave it like that for the night. This will definitely keep water out for the night unless we get some kind of torrential downpour where the brick would absorb the water and it gets behind this. But any kind of, you know, little bit of rain, quick passing thunderstorm, this will do fine. Okay, so I'm getting ready to cut in the lead flashing, and I've got it all laid out. And this way, you'll notice I'm doing it a different way. This way, it uses a little bit more lead in a lot of cases, and then you have to have 8-inch lead or 10-inch lead, or you know, sometimes it changes. So I'm not just going to do the same 4-inch overlap that I did on the last one. Basically what I'm doing is, so I'm going to start and figure out where my front piece of lead's going to go, right? So I'm going to have my apron piece here, and this will be my first piece of counter flashing before I start. And then up the sides, I just do a measurement here and I figure out where it's going to work. I know I got to cover up all this garbage, the black and stuff, so that's something I always take into consideration if I have to cover up tar or old lead flashing and stuff like that. So I've measured up and I've decided that it's about 4 bricks here to here, and that's where I want to go. And so you can measure straight square off the roof here and then do it up there, and you're going to get the same consistent line here. And I'm actually, that's where I am on that brick. So I just struck a chalk line down, and then I just use my pencil to kind of, so I don't blow this chalk line off when I'm cutting. And basically, let me show you here. I have 8-inch lead flashing. Let me get my tape measure. So basically what I'm gonna do is have 8-inch flashing. And if you can imagine my front piece of flashing is gonna come to here. And every time the front of the piece of flashing will come to here, right on that red mark. Okay. And so if you'll notice where 8 inches ends up, I'm not really into my ice and water shield. So that ends up working out perfect. And so we're gonna have a nice consistent line going all the way up. One of the benefits to doing it this way is it looks really clean when it's done. Everything is nice and symmetrical and steps exact. And also I can count all my pieces right now, how many pieces I need all the way up. And I know the exact cut. So I need, for this, I know I need 22 cuts of 8-inch lead. So I'm gonna cut 22 pieces at 15 inches. So it's really helpful if you have 2 people, as I'm figuring out this, you know, what's going on here, I can just have my laborer or another guy cut up all this lead while I'm cutting the mortar out. It's pretty practical. The downside is it doesn't always work out perfect with the overlap. So instead of having my standard 4-inch overlap, I think I'm gonna overlap, well, there's 3 inches here. So I'm gonna overlap 5 inches. So I'm actually wasting more lead than I need. But in the end, you know, it's a little faster because I know exactly where my cuts are. I don't have to think about it. I know exactly how many cuts I need, and you know, it's gonna look better. There you have it. Everything's all cut out. Both sides, front, back, all cut out, ready to go. It took me just under 20 minutes, about 19 minutes to go around it and cut it out. It's one of the benefits to doing it this way. There's no thinking. All you have to do is go around and cut. All right, I got these shingles back up just beyond the chimney a little bit. And then I've gone to start my apron piece. The apron piece is held on. I've just got 2 clips. These are nailed up here under the flashing, and then just bent over to hold this piece. We don't want to nail. We don't want to nail the lead down. So this is how it's gone up and bent around the corner just slightly. They do end up with a little crease here, which is fine. If you're not from England, it's fine. They have lead welders there, and if you ever did anything like that there, you'd be called a cowboy. They frown upon this type of work, but I am not a lead welder. And if you are a lead welder, you probably shouldn't be here watching this. Okay, now I've got my piece of counter flashing over the top, and you can see I've got it siliconed in. That's how that fits on there. Notice how much coverage we have from this corner back to here. That's a good amount of coverage right there. Definitely a lot better than the last guy that just, cut the slit and folded it down. And take a look at the silicone. It's not all globbed on there like I stood 5 feet away because I was scared of getting too close to it like a lot of guys leave it. It's smooth, and that's important when you're putting silicone on. Take an extra second to not just be globbing it on, and then smooth it out when you're done. I mean, it's easy enough to do that, and it doesn't look disgusting. For anybody wondering, this lead here, it's made in the US. This is 8-inch sheet lead, or strip lead here. Comes in rolls, 50-pound rolls, and it's, I don't know if you can see that, but it's macoindustries.com. If anybody's looking for lead in a certain part of the country where you can't find it, maybe call that, call them up and see if they can help you find a distributor. I don't know what this danger sticker is on here. I'm not going to read it. I don't see any danger here. Doesn't look dangerous to me. Here's a look at the corner piece. It's all bent up. See how it's kind of neatly wrapped down over this piece. And we have a really good amount of coverage. There's no cracks or holes or anything, okay? Now that we have these 3 pieces on, okay, this is where the first shingle goes on. Don't try to put it on before. And then also, when we put the first shingle on, don't try to get in front here, okay? Just cut it down the side. And the first shingle will lay on like, I'm having a tough time holding it here, but yeah, it'll be something like that, okay? And look, we'll see a little bit of this piece of lead come under. It's not a big deal. Just leave it. Don't start cutting lead just because you're like, oh, well, look at that lead, it's showing. Just leave it. You don't even have to worry about it. Nobody's gonna care that a little strip of lead's showing there. Stop butchering people's lead jobs. Okay, so now it's a piece of cake. We're gonna go right up this side and the other side, and this won't take long at all. I'll probably get the rest of this done in maybe 30 minutes maybe, and I'll have that all in. While nailing the shingle, I am gonna stay right in the nail line with my nails. But notice how I've stayed back here, okay? I'm not gonna get my nails into here and start nailing through lead. This lead has to be able to move, right? Not a ton, but it has to be able to move. If it can't move, then you run into issues. But if it's like this, it has a little bit of flexibility and can move. Every time I go to put a next piece on, I'm gonna find my line up here where that blue line, where it comes down. I'm gonna find the corner of that blue line right there, and I'm gonna plumb down, and I'm gonna just scribe a light mark into that piece of lead with my trowel. And that way I know when I put this next piece in here, it's gonna be perfectly plumb. And this is critical. If you want your lead to look good, it's gotta be nice and plumb. And as I go, if you're wondering, I do stuff little pieces of lead in here just to help hold it, okay? So I pump the kerf full of silicone, and then I put the lead in, and then I put some little balled up pieces in there, and then I silicone over the top, just like that. And those little pieces of lead will just kind of help hold it so it doesn't, you know, wiggle around and get out of plumb when you're not really watching it. All right, I'm coming up this other side, and I'm all the way up to the back. But I want to tell you that just because you come to the back of the brickwork doesn't mean you're done. This is a mistake. I see it all the time. I see it from roofers. I see it from masons. Just because they think, you know, they got a piece that goes all the way to the back means they're done, but you're not. You have to put that last piece on to continue, you know, the step right here. See, I've got my line scribed right there. That's where my next piece is gonna go, right? And what that does is it gives us more coverage up here. We don't want water getting behind that. So if I just kind of like place this roughly where it's gonna go, you can see how much higher up the roof we've gotten now. And then the step is consistent the whole way. That's what we're looking for, something like that. So I timed it out. These things go in pretty quick because I had everything cut ahead of time. So on average, it takes me 3 minutes or less to put on each piece. 3 minutes or less, so not bad. I zipped right through both sides, and now I've just got the back to do. But it's going pretty good. I'm gonna take a break and eat some lunch, and then I'll finish up after. So I'm going up with the shingles here, and basically I'm putting, you know, one piece under every shingle. And then it works like that to a certain point, right? And then all of a sudden you end up with this. Do you see that that ear hangs down lower. So now if I were to put this shingle over top, you start hanging out, right? And then the next course it'll be more, and the next course it'll be more. And this is why the roofers start cutting this off, right? Because they don't want it to show like that. So, you know, it's fine on this one, but the next one would be extreme. And so the next one would look like this. And you start cutting these funky shapes out of here, and you start cutting into the coverage on the lead, right? But it's literally, it's the easiest fix. You could literally, you just take this and you put two shingles, or sorry, you put two pieces of flashing like that. Do you see that? And now that's where we are, okay? And then we're back to one. Now we'll step one every piece until we get to the same thing where it starts sticking out, and then we'll put two. And there's literally no problem with putting two under. It's perfectly waterproof. It works fine. So don't get caught up thinking you have to layer one shingle under every one. You can go two, and it's fine. And it's certainly going to be a lot better than cutting the lead. Okay, so I've worked my way up. I got the shingles on the back here, and I am working on putting these back pieces on. Just got my back apron piece on. I had to kind of put this funny piece right here that's going to go underneath the hip and ridge, and it goes up in here. Let me back this up a bit. There we go. I just did that just to give a little extra coverage here on this back corner, just to give it a little extra. It probably would have been fine without it, but I did it on both sides just to be safe. Now I am going to put my back piece of counter flashing on, and then I got to put these ridge shingles on, and then I'll be wrapped up. That's what it's looking like now. I'm just getting these ridge shingles on, but I figured I'd give you a peek and see, so you can see how I did this. It's kind of like a weird little cricket thing on the back here. And, you know, obviously it's a lot better than just having a little valley here. They just built it up with some plywood here. And it's a weird little thing that most people will never even come across, but sometimes you gotta do some funky stuff to make everything kind of watertight. It's all wrapped with ice and water shield too, so you know, we definitely don't have to worry about anything. There's definitely no water gonna get in here, not through the flashing now, and not under this hip and ridge either, because we've got ice and water shield back here as well. So I'm gonna get these ridge shingles on, and then got some cleanup to do. I was actually thinking this is a good time to talk about money. Usually when I post these videos, I have loads of comments of people asking what it costs and how much do I charge. And so I just want to go over the money aspect with you real quick. So I did use one full roll of 8-inch lead, and then I've used about half a roll of that 8-inch roll. So I get the lead pretty cheap. I buy it in bulk, so I get it for about $110. Yeah, that's what I paid. $110 a roll is what I paid for my last shipment. And so, you know, what do I got? $160 worth of lead in it. And then I use Lexel. This is really good, high quality silicone. It's going to last, I don't know how long it's going to last, but it's going to last a really long time. And it's definitely going to outlast mortar there. Like I was saying before, it's 86 degrees today, so you can imagine how hot that lead actually gets. And with it being hot and dry like this, any kind of mortar you pointed in there would just about instantly want to crumble. It would be baked to death by that lead. You know, one of the reasons why I use silicone, I just think it's a lot better than trying to repoint in mortar. It's just not practical to do it like that, and I don't think you get as good of a product. You know, people will argue with me, especially people from England. We know they're the best. Anyhow, yeah, so about $160 in lead maybe. I bought 3 boxes of nails. I didn't use them all, so that was less than $20. 2 bundles of shingles, which they were $37 a piece, so call it $80. I'm gonna reuse the hip and ridge shingles. So there's not a lot of money that goes into it. You know, of course, I charge for fuel. You know, diesel's, not cheap, so I got a little bit of a ride out here, so I have to make sure I cover myself on that. And your labor rate is whatever you want it to be. Guys will literally come here and paint this with black flashing in a can, flash seal, tar, whatever, and they'll just come up on the roof and charge $1,000. Sometimes they charge $1,000 per man, and they just paint it with tar. So it's whatever you want. Like, do up your materials and then figure what you want. If you're going to do decent work and you think you do decent work and you want to make $1,000 a day, charge $1,000 a day on top of your material. And trust me, people will hire you. And if you're in an area where you can get $2,000 for labor on top of your materials, go right ahead. And as long as you're doing quality work, people will justify paying you for your work. My prices, I feel like, don't really matter much because I'm in the Northeast, and it might be different in other parts of the country. In the South, it might be a lot cheaper. I don't know. Well, they don't even use lead down there. They use aluminum. So they'll take a piece of $5 aluminum, and they'll do they'll bend up the whole flashing and put it in. They'll leave like funky little dog ears or bat caves up there. They just do it different, which, God, don't ever put dog ears or bat caves on a chimney. It's ridiculous. So, and the other thing is, I work by myself. I'm doing this all by myself. I've got all this staging is not OSHA compliant. I can't be bothered. This is my setup, and this is all I need to do work. And some people might need an OSHA compliant setup. They might need to set harness the anchors on the roof and harness off, and they got to charge for all that safety BS. With this, the whole safety movement is ridiculous in my opinion. It's killing construction. One of the reasons why I don't have employees, because I just can't, I won't deal with the safety aspect of it. I think it's ridiculous. So, and that said, is, people that are less skilled will have to charge more money, because it takes them longer. So a lot of times when you hire someone that's more skilled, especially at laying brick or something, you don't want to see what it looks like to watch a guy that says, I've been doing masonry for 30 years, but he doesn't know how to lay a brick. He never really was a bricklayer, He's just like a chimney guy that never became a bricklayer that says he's been doing it a long time. You don't want to see what it looks like when that guy lays brick. It would take him a long time to do something like this, but then you get a bricklayer that comes that's really efficient, that knows how to bond out brick, and they can just whip it up and it looks easy. That skilled bricklayer wouldn't have to charge as much because he'd be done in a day. The other guy might take a whole week to do it. You got to pay that guy for a whole week and maybe his helper for a week. So everybody's in a different situation. They have brand new trucks that they're making payments on. I'm still driving around that thing. It's been paid off. I don't have to make as much money as somebody else to get by. So the whole money thing is, I think, irrelevant. It's just different for everybody. So my advice is talk to people, get a few quotes, and find someone you trust. Someone that's going to do decent work and not paint on flashing. Someone that's not just going to come on your roof and just start siliconing everything, because that doesn't work. Anyhow, I hope it's helpful to hear that part of it, because people think I could just whip out a price for this and then that's the price maybe they would get somewhere else, and the truth is it probably wouldn't even be close. Some of these chimney companies are just they're price gouging so much. And part of it is the safety, and part of it is they're paying for unskilled help. Their guys are not proficient at bricklaying or doing lead or any kind of shingle work. And then you'll get the roofer guy. I've been doing this for 40 years. You'll get that guy, and he might be like, I'll fix it for $200 and come up here with a bucket of tar or silicone or whatever. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it's helpful. Here it is, ready to go. It's ready to take water right now. You see, I did drive a couple nails through on each one to try to help hold it. I don't mind putting nails through. I just put some silicone over the top after. Most roofers nowadays, they just, leave nails in the ridge, and they don't even silicone over the top. They just nail them and leave them. They just rust out. So yeah, this thing's ready to go. Flashing's done. Next step, I got to have a custom stainless cap coming to cover the entire chimney, and this joint here has to be ground out. You like these guys? Look at all those shiners. Shiners are backwards bricks, right? You see them all backwards. Most masons don't do that, but some guys, the special ones, they'll do that. At first glance, most people would look at this chimney and be like, wow, it's actually not bad. It's actually just rough as it's rough as can be. The guy actually didn't use a level on most of it to range it out. I think he did all right horizontally, but he didn't range it much. And there's a lot of backwards brick, but it's good enough for some. He actually has nice tight joints, so his joints aren't big, which is nice. 3/8 inch joints or less. Oh, let's get in on that flashing. A little bit of a glare here. There it is, nice and consistent the whole way up. And you know, the thing about silicone, using silicone is, you know, we don't have to worry about the mortar setting up. This stuff right now will take rain, and it will be cured in a couple hours, really. So literally right after you put it in, it can be considered watertight. And we got a good match with the shingles, even though we're many years apart from when the roof was redone. I don't know how this roof has to be at least 10 or 15 years old, and the shingles actually match not too bad. That's it. I'm cleaning up and I'm going home.